Okay, so again, this is part 2 of ServiceTitan Mobile. I do want to come back here to the screen that we're on. We're going to start right here. A couple things that have changed. One of the first things I want to bring up is this content portal. I didn't really have a good idea of what that content portal could be used for. I don't imagine there's very many of you using this, but I would highly recommend that you do. What you can do with this is, in my AirServe, I used to do a ton of advertising and marketing. We had coupons in all kinds of direct mail and newspapers and those kinds of things. What I would do here is I would have all these posted so that my technicians would have a copy of all of my ads. Everything that I would be doing, they would have copies here. If you've got internal messages or things that you need to share with the team, this is a great place to do this. It'll always be here in their content portal on their iPad. And the way that you would do this is you just go into the administrative side, go into settings, go into the content portal, and there you can create new items. You can bring PDFs in, those kinds of things. I think you can even bring videos in here to the content portal if you wanted to. So a great way to share information with the techs, things that you want them to have with them at all times. This is a great place for it to be. And the only thing that they have to do here is they should be rethinking their price books daily, right? Every morning when they log in, they should resync their download their price book. So any changes that you make in the content portal would come in automatically at that time then. So really a great feature for communicating. The other thing that I want to go through is the follow-up tab. There actually has been a change here with the follow-up tab. We can see here, let me move something on my screen, sorry. Like we went through on our last session, we can search this several ways. I can filter here, and I can filter business units and see all of them or one at a time. I can look at my status differences here. I can change my date range that I want to put in, my to and from dates. I can customize last week, last 7 days, last 30 days, that type of thing. So some really good things here. And this is the follow-up tab where your technicians have created estimates. These, if you turn it on, it's a permission-based thing, so you have to go into the admin, into settings, and turn this on for them to be able to see the follow-up tab. But as you can see here, I've got 3 here of opportunities that I've been out on, and each technician will only see their own. Technicians will not see each other's opportunities. They will only see their own calls that they've completed themselves. So here I can come in and look at the opportunity just by clicking on that green button. And once it opens up here, we'll see what's going on. Here we can see that there was a test copy, and then here. So we've actually duplicated this one a couple different times. The one that was sold clearly is showing that it is sold here. I can scroll down here. I can log information to customers' notes or to locations here. I can even come down and I can see different items. So here's all the history, today's history, yesterday, things that's been done. So the technician has access to all of that. If there's any photographs, PDFs, or any forms, the technician can view all of that here. The other thing that can be done is you can actually open these up and you can see what's going on in each one. And then the other thing that you can do here, once this comes back, is you can call the customer from here, but you can also email these. So this is a couple changes. So if I go to this email here, this opens up, and now I can send these either one at a time, or I can click and include all. Here you can see there's a repair versus replace. I can send all this to an email to the customer. Once I enter my information here, I can also save this to the customer and to the location. I can add other recipients, decide what all I need to send out, and then I can email this. So this is a great feature that's been added, pretty easy to do. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of this and go through this with your technicians. The other thing that you can do here when my screen comes back is a technician can actually log a follow-up. So if I click over here at the far right-hand corner, it's a calendar. I can actually click in here as a follow-up as when I need to get with this customer. So maybe they wanted me to get back with them in a couple of weeks. So I can set this up as a reminder, and then it will pop up then as a reminder here for me to get back with them. So a couple really good things that's come through since our last session. I wanted to kind of go through that with you today. Make sure that your technicians are aware of those updates. So I'm going to go ahead now. Any questions before I move on? Shannon, you've got the chat box. You're on top of that?
Yes, sir. Sharon had a question, but I was able to answer it. We can go ahead and address it just in case no one's seen it. She had asked, how do you get to the content portal? So Randy, if you want to just explain, I mean, it's right there as the technician logs in to ServiceTitan Mobile. You can access the content portal there, but if you need to know where to add content to the content portal, that's going to be on the admin side of ServiceTitan under your settings. And on the left-hand side at the top, you can type in content portal and it will pull up for you.
Yeah, in the search box in settings on the admin side, just type in content and it'll bring it up and you can click on it and there you can add all that. Yep, thank you.
Randy, I wanted to make sure I understood something you said. So the only way the stuff gets into the follow-up is when the technicians actually create a
estimate.
An estimate. Okay, so we can't put anything in there and et cetera.
No, okay. The way that it comes in here is automatically. If I don't create the estimates, then it's not going to put me in the follow-up tab. If I just go in and do an invoice, then the invoice is going to show up here in my history as a completed call. So I can come in here and look at all of my completed calls. But if I've created an estimate, then that estimate is going to show up here under follow-up. It's also going to show up in the admin side under follow-up, and it happens automatically. Now, the technicians will not be able to see it if you do not turn it on. So if you want the technicians to see their own follow-ups, then you have to go in under settings, under technician, in their permissions, and actually turn that on so that they can see this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on here. If you'll remember last time, we talked about the jobs. The technician can come in here. He can view the job. I'm going to go through this, a couple items here pretty quickly here. We can see history, those kinds of things. Something that I want to point out is in history, now I haven't even dispatched myself to the job yet, but I can still go in here under this job and I can see any history that's been done. So here, I can see that there's a couple of invoices. I can go in here and see what actually was done, who was out there, that type of thing. You can see here that we don't have any notes, but a technician can pin notes just like what the office can. So down here with this edit pencil, I can put a note here.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got our crazy lady here with 100 cats. Now I can do a couple things. If I just save this, then in my notes, I'll see it here under notes, and then the technician and everybody will see it. It's a pin note. Your customer's not going to see this. It's an internal note. But the thing is, if we look here under pinned notes, it still does not show any. The only way for pinned notes to be here is you actually have to pin it. So by coming in here and hitting here, pin this note to the top, and the same way with the office, then once I pin this, whatever note I would put in here and save it, then what will happen is now you can see that there's a pinned note. If I need this to get my technician's attention, maybe there's a key under a rock, or there's a certain keypad or something that he's got to do, whatever special notes, then you can see that right here. Those are pinned notes. So two different ways to use notes. Now the thing is, under our history, you'll actually see now there are two. Even the pinned notes comes in here. but so does the note that the tech made. So both notes will come under history, but only a pinned note will show up on the first page here of the job itself. We've got some background noise. If you would, please go ahead and mute yourself, please. All right, so I wanted to go through that. Again, we can look at history of whatever we got going here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get in this job. And again, by getting in the job, I'm just going to mark myself as dispatch. And then I can mark myself arrive once I get to the job. Or you can use auto arrive, which you would need to contact ServiceTitan. That's a behind the scenes setting. They can get that set for you to auto arrive so the technician doesn't have to remember to manually mark that every time he gets to a job site. So I'm going to arrive and end up on the job. And now that I'm here, our forms opens up. The other thing that you'll see here, this is new. Look at the blue line up here at the top. To go contactless, use the e-sign button on forms and signatures. And I'm going to show you that a little bit more about that here. So that's brand new as of this morning. So you do have a way of going contactless. I have a contactless experience, so we'll take a look at that. So here with our forms, now that we're active on the job, our forms are here. Last time we went through the repair versus replace, so I'm really not going to take the time to go through that right now. We also went through the system illustrations. What all was available here. A lot of technicians may not even be aware that this is here, but you can also email these to the customer if ever need be. And then we have our indoor and outdoor total comfort diagnosis. And these have to be filled out. There has to be something done here for the technician to be able to complete his call and to be able to get this call off of his tablet when he's done. So here, of course, everything happens with the blue arrows. So with this indoor unit, I can come in here and you can see it's already got the customer's name, today's date, and then I can go through here and start getting my information. If you'll notice up here at the top, here is our e-sign. So if you need this customer or you want this customer to sign this total comfort diagnosis form that the technician fills out, then you can send this to the customer as an e-sign then. So as I go through here, we've got one of two choices, and the choices here are we have to do something with the radial button here. I either have to acknowledge that I'm testing and checking everything and that I've inspected everything, or I'm acknowledging that I don't need to on this particular call. But I have to do one of these two here. Now, we'll go ahead and say on this indoor unit, we'll do it real quickly. We'll go through, but we'll say that this is a garage unit here. The way that I use this is for my location of the system, especially in homes that have multiple systems. You could have one in the garage, a basement, crawl space, attic, that type of thing. So this gives you, you and the technicians an idea of what system it is and where it's located. And then here we get our make of the unit, our model numbers. We can get that information in there here. Whatever it is, electric, gas, what have you, our age of equipment. So this is just, again, filling in the blanks, just like the other forms that we went through the last time. This is a matter of just filling in the blanks. Once they click on it, it turns blue. They can put in the information. And I'm just filling in a bunch of stuff here. But here now we can get into our readings. Here's dry bulb temperatures and wet bulb temperatures, so we can get all that information. The nice part about this is once we get this information, now we have something to compare to. If we have another call on this a week, 2 weeks later, now we've got this information that a technician can compare what was going on last time and now what's going on this time. Might help them diagnose a little bit better. Then as we go on through, again, it's just a matter of filling in the blanks. The indoor unit, is it good, fair, poor condition? We'll say it's good condition. Delta T, again, whatever that temperature is. If this is a gas furnace, then the heat strips would be not applicable. If it's electric, then it would be. As we come on down, here's a kind of an example that most everybody understands of the heat exchanger. And with this heat exchanger, Either it's not applicable or it's good, fair, or poor. Well, let's say in this case that it's in poor condition. Maybe it's rusted and deteriorated. The technician can come over to the pencil here, and he can actually then come in here and say that it's rusted and cracked or deteriorated or whatever, and he can submit this. Well, once he submits it, now you can see that the pencil turns green. Everything else is blue, the pencil's green. I can also flag it here just by clicking on the star that I want to make sure that I draw the customer's attention to this, or maybe my own attention to remember to talk to the customer about it. And then I can click on the camera here and actually take a picture of that heat exchanger. So a lot of things I can do here. Photograph of the heat exchanger. I've got my pin note here, and I flagged it here with the star so I can remember to go through that with the customer. So I can save this, and once I save this document, I'm going to go back to forms, and now you can see that it's completed. This has to be completed for the technician to be able to get this job finalized and to get it off of his tablet. So now I'll go to the outdoor unit. We'll do the same thing. Here we're going to acknowledge that we're going through it. The outdoor unit, maybe we'll say it sits on the west side of house. So now we've got a location, and here it's a carrier. Again, we put in whatever information we need. If we click on the right areas. And again, it's just a matter of filling in blanks. Now, one thing I want to make sure everybody understands is you've seen here, we've got model number and we've got serial number. This does not go anywhere in ServiceTitan. It does not stay with the customer records. All this is like writing this on a form, a piece of paper. While this goes back into the customer and always stays with the customer, you can't pull reports, you can't find this information unless you go look at this specific document. You have to go to history and add the equipment. And Shannon, make a note to remind me to go through and show them how to add equipment, because that has all changed. That's a new update as well. If you would please, before I get out of this call, remind me to do that. So as we go on down, we've got our outdoor diagnosis, outdoor temperature. So we can just go in here and start filling in blanks again, whatever information we need. I'm not going to go through everything just for the sake of time, but here we're going to say the contactor's poor. We can actually even come in here and say that it's bad and needs to be replaced, right? So we can do that. Compressor, good. We can put in our compressor locked or running load amps and rated amps. The capacitor here we'll say is fair, and maybe it's weak, and we can put in whatever ratings we need to there. So a lot of information we can put in here. Here we can actually put in the ratings. So if it's maybe rated at 7.5, but right now it's only drawing 6.8. So this is where the technician can get all the information. Again, he can pin notes, he can flag these items here as necessary to remember to talk to the customer and make sure the customer is aware of these things. So again, this is a pretty healthy form, a lot of information on this. I'm not going to go in and fill in all the blanks just for the sake of time. But the other thing I want to show you here is if this customer had more than one system that we're working on, then we can come in and we can duplicate. So here you can see the outdoor unit of the west side. If I click on the box or the blue dots here, I can duplicate this here. And then what it does is down at the bottom of the screen, well, here's you got outdoor unit here, and then here you've got outdoor unit. We'll say this one's on the east side. So now we can record a couple different units here. You can do the same thing with the indoor unit. So I'm going to save that and go back to the, actually let me go back to forms and I'll show you where both of those now are complete. These need to be completed in some form or fashion for us to be able to complete the job. So is there any questions on that before I move on to the estimates?
Hey,
Okay.
Randy.
Yes, sir.
If we put the model serial in the, not on ServiceTitan Mobile, but on the desktop, if we put it in there, does it auto-populate over to here or not?
Only if you put it in correctly. If I go to history here, if you've put it in correctly into the ServiceTitan admin side, then it should populate here for me on this side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so and what I mean by correctly is there's two ways to do it on the admin side. You can do it off of the invoice. So over on the left-hand column, when you're looking at the invoice screen, there's a place where you click on Add Equipment. You can add it there. Or if you go into the customer record, up at the very top, there's a blue button that says Add Equipment. You can add it there. So either of those two places you can add it, or you can do it here. And I'm going to go ahead and do it here while we're talking about it. So for a technician, even though you saw me put model number and serial number on the Total Comfort checklist, that does not go to the service records, something that we can search or pull reports on. The only way for the technician to capture equipment information is to go to history here, come over here under existing equipment right there, and click here, and now we can add equipment. And you can see that this is blue or it's highlighted, so now we can add equipment. So this is all changed. This is going to be brand new as of this morning, so your technicians aren't going to be familiar with this. It has changed a little bit, this whole screen. But I can come in and add equipment. When it does, it brings me to this screen. So here I can bring up my AC system. Here, the equipment name, again, I can say that this is the garage unit. Manufacturer is Carrier. And then my model number, whatever that is, my serial number, whatever that is. Here, whatever memo, maybe it sits in a closet, right? Or whatever you want to have here. Then you have your manufacturer's warranty start and end date, if the tech knows that, and then your service provider warranty. So you've got all this information. If that technician will gather this information, actually, here's your installed date as well. So you can go backwards. You can go take this all the way back to whatever you need to do, find your exactly date. If you're not sure, then he can use 0101 of the year that he thinks that it was installed, and then save it. And then once that's saved, when we go back to history, it's always going to be there. So now you can see we've got one in history. If we go to look at it, we can see it right here. So that is the only way for a technician to add equipment, for this to save and be in the customer records, for us to be able to pull reports and find it. Okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play make-believe. We're going to play some games here. We're going to play make-believe. We went through our total comfort diagnosis, and we found a lot of things wrong with this system. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to recommend that your technicians probably in the range of 90–95% of the time should create an estimate, not an invoice. An invoice, the only time I would go straight to an invoice would be possibly like a home warranty company situation or maybe some commercial jobs. But 95% of the time, I think your technician should go and create an estimate first, because we don't know what all the customer is going to accept or approve, what all they're going to buy today. So I'm going to create my estimate here. So by clicking on this estimate, it brings me to this screen. Now I can come in here and I can add an estimate, and I can name this. And this is something you can see it's required. So I'll just say here, recommendations here. And then we've got our work summary. And this is what everybody needs to work on. This work summary needs to be very, very thorough. It needs to be very detailed. This is where you build the value for the money that you're wanting to ask the customer for. This is what sets you apart from your competition. So in all the trainings that I do, I cannot preach and teach this enough. This summary is the most important part of what the technician's doing. Now, your technician can either type this in or he can use talk to text, either way. But if he's going to use talk to text, then you need to make sure that they proofread everything before they go and present it to the customer. I also feel like
sure they don't talk Southern like me.
That's exactly right. I'm not even sure if that's called Southern. So in the summary, They type it in, they can do talk to text, but I personally feel like this should not be done while they're sitting in the van. They should be in front of the indoor unit or the outdoor unit somewhere in the house, but not in the van sitting there doing that. So they can put in here, performed thorough diagnosis, right? So what I've got is, I've got one I'm going to drop in just for the sake of time. So we're going to put that in here. Now you can see. And this is what I would expect my invoices to look like from my technicians. I want it to be very detailed, very thorough. I want a lot of information for the customer. And I also want my recommendations down here. So this may be something that most of you aren't doing. This has made me a lot of money. I've increased a lot of sales by adding these notes to my invoices, to my estimates, even to my comfort designer. I always had them put 3 estimates or 3 system enhancement estimates on every invoice with the customer. So here we can see real quick, perform thorough diagnosis of cooling system, thermostat's calling for cooling, indoor fan was running, outdoor units not coming on. We found a bad contactor. Contactor needs to be replaced. We also found a weak capacitor. Now, some of this, from a technician's point of view, may be done in steps, but because we've only got 30 minutes here left, I have to do this pretty quickly. So some of this may be done in steps, and I'll show you that here in a minute, but we got a lot of detail here in this, and now what we need to do is build this estimate. So now I'm going to click here and I'm going to add my add items. So what that does is that opens up the price book for me. And I can look at this from several different ways. This is typically what your technician sees as these boxes that they can click on. I prefer to look at it this way. So by clicking up here, I can change the way I look. I can also come in here and just click and search if I wanted to. So there's 3 different ways that your technician can find what he's looking for. So we're working on a condensing unit right now, air conditioning. So here, I'm just going to click down here under air conditioning. And now you can see it brings me up everything under condensing. So the first thing I know is my contactor is bad. It needs to be replaced. So I'm going to come in here, find my contactor, and I'm going to add it to my estimate. And you can see that it adds it up here at the top. When I come back, again, some of this may have to be done in stages, but I'm just having to show you kind of everything rolled into one here. So here I'm going to pick my capacitor. I'm going to add the capacitor. You can see it up here at the top. I also had the condenser fan motor in that write-up that it's going bad, so we're going to add a condensing fan motor here. Again, you can see it building it up here at the top. This customer does not have a service agreement, so I'm going to go to my Advantage plans, and I'm going to find my agreements here. I want to find the correct one, and it would be this one here. So now I've got that added. I can continue on. I can add more items. If this is all I need to add, then all I do here is I just click done. And what I can see now is I've got my recommendations. I've got a very detailed, thorough summary. I've got some system enhancements. I can add those if I want to, or I can leave them here. As I scroll down, you can see here, there's a contactor, capacitor, condenser fan motor, and I've got my Advantage plan. So there's all of my items. So I've got this estimate, and I'm ready to talk to the customer about this. I'm ready to go through all this with the customer. But before I do, I'm going to duplicate this. Now, you can take this to the nth degree. We can do good, better, best. We can do all kinds of different options. The very simplest form for me is to come in here and just duplicate this estimate. So by clicking up here where it says duplicate, I've got duplicate here. And now what you'll see on your screen is you can see my original with recommendations, and here is the copy, right? Here is the original. If I click out of it, I go to copy, you can see it's exactly the same. I didn't have to type all this stuff in twice. Everything that I put here now is on the copy itself. You can tell it's the copy because of right here. I can even change that if I wanted to, recommendations for best performance or something. I can, change this. I can do whatever I need to here, but I can click done. So I can still see the difference between my original and the copy that I made. Now I'm ready to go talk to my customer. When I go talk to my customer, I'm going to come back here to the recommendations. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to read through this. I'm going to make sure the customer understands everything that I've done, everything I found, and then I'm going to go down through the pricing. And if you'll notice, the contactor was the very first thing that I put on here. To me, that's my primary task. I'm out here for no cooling. Why do I not have cooling today? Well, the reason I don't have cooling is because the contactor is bad. That's why the outdoor unit's not coming on. So that contactor is my primary task. That's the one that resolves the issue of why I'm out there today. Everything else is add-on tasks after that. So down here, I've got my contactor. I can show the customer my pricing here, and I've got my standard and member pricing. I can see that. Now I'm going to talk to the customer about the capacitor. It's still working, but it's weak. We know it's going to fail, but we don't know when. By the way, because I'm out here today, you can see here the regular price on that capacitor is $179, but if you go ahead and do it today, I can do that as an add-on, and your cost will only be $78.04. And I can toggle back and forth. To me, this is a huge presentation piece for the technician to show that customer, you know, it's working. If you want to wait until that fails and have us come out and replace it, you can do that. It'll be $179 when we come back. But if you'd like for me to take care of it right now today, it's only $78. You can save $101 today. I think that's huge. So I can do that. I can even save that here. I can go down to the condenser fan motor. I can do exactly the same thing with the condenser fan motor. I click on the arrow. I can show them here, you know, Mrs. Jones, just like that capacitor, because I'm out here, the motor's working. We know it's working. We just don't know when it's going to fail. If you'd like to go ahead and take care of that today, I can do that as an add-on task, just like the capacitor. You can see here it's only $384 or $485. Again, I can save you about $101 on that motor also. So between the motor and capacitor, I can save you $202 today. So I can present that back and forth. I think that's huge. I can save that. Now, again, I'm working on my original, right? I'm working on the original. I'm doing all this here. Now it's up to the customer to make a decision. And let's say the customer says, you know what, that sounds good, the price is low, but I just don't have any money. What I will do is I'll do the capacitor and I'll do the Advantage plan, but I don't want to do anything else. I'm on my original estimate here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that capacitor because they do not want it. I'm going to remove the condenser fan motor because they do not want that. I went through my whole presentation, but they don't want it. Right now, I'm down to the contactor and the Advantage plan. This is what they want today. So that's great. I'm going to click Done, and now I'm going to come over here to my duplicate, and I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to remove the contactor because they bought it today, so I'm going to remove that contactor. And I'm also going to remove the Advantage plan because they bought it. Now what you see here is on my copy, right? On my copy, I've got the two items that they did not purchase. When I close out this job, this is going to be saved on my iPad in the follow-up tab as an unsold opportunity. This is also going to come into the ServiceTitan administrative side in the follow-up tab as an unsold opportunity. And because I removed the items that I sold today, it's very clean. I don't have to worry about somebody calling this customer and talking about a contactor that they've already purchased. I've removed those items from here. So I can click Done. Now I've got my two estimates, and I'm ready to go ahead and do the work now. So all I have to do now is I go to Present Work, and I'm going to do the work. So here we're going to go View. Now there's a couple things that can be done here. We can click here to sign and accept, or what we can do is we can email this estimate to the online estimates for the customer to have a touchless experience, right? So you can send this to the online estimate and have them sign it there and email it back. So right now, because I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and sign this to accept it and approve it. And I'm going to do the work now. And now what you'll see here is it has automatically created the invoice for me. Now that I've sold this job, you can see right here, this is my invoice. Everything that I put down here, all the writing or typing that I did, it all has come through. Sorry, I always do that. I always click on that. And then here's my contactor and the Advantage plan. So this is the work that they want to get done today. Very clean, all right here. It's exactly everything that they want to have done, and I'm going to capture everything that they didn't want today. So here's the thing. Now that we can see that this is the invoice and everything that we typed came over, I don't have to, as a technician, I don't have to retype all this stuff 2 and 3 and 4 times. I just did it 1 time. All right, and again, I clicked on something else I shouldn't. So now let's say that as all things go, as a technician's working on this, there's other issues, there's other problems that come out. Well, because I haven't completed this job, I can come in here as a technician and maybe I found more stuff that is wrong, right? So I can add whatever I need to here. I can just keep typing and keep typing. I can add whatever I want. Here, I've got add items, so I can come in here and click on add items. It brings me right back here. And let's say that we found something else that was wrong, and maybe it was, I don't know, a breaker problem or something. So we can add that breaker right there. We can now go back. And we're done. So here is our invoice. Again, we found more stuff. Here we found that breaker. I can still go over here and show the customer, just like I did on the invoice. I can do an add-on here and show that customer an add-on task savings with that breaker. I can save this, and it becomes part of that invoice here, and I'm ready to be done. So any questions on any of that? I know we're going through it pretty quickly, but you can go in, you can duplicate these estimates 2, 3, 4 times. You can make good, better, best. You can do whatever you want to there. I think the key to this whole thing is for the technician to remove from the items that the customer is doing today, make sure to remove everything that was purchased today on the duplicated tasks or on the duplicated estimate so that you've got a clean reports in your follow-up tab of exactly what was not purchased. So any questions on any of that? I know, again, we're going through it kind of quickly.
Randy, there's not any questions really on chat, but you're doing an amazing job. And just a reminder, if you can go through the add equipment section just whenever you have a quick moment.
Yeah, now yeah, I just did that a minute ago, but we'll see if there are any questions. I'll go back through that again if we need to. Thank you.
Randy, can you go back to the present screen?
To the what, I'm sorry?
The presentation screen, the present, where it shows your estimates.
Yeah, so right here I've got my estimates. If I go to present mode here, it brings them in side by side. Is that what you're asking?
Right, so you can click on those and toggle and show the customer, like if you do your good, better, best, it'll have all 3 and you can view them once you.
Exactly. If I had a good, better, best, if I had 5 or 4 or 5 of them, I could show them here and I could go in and click on each one and go through everything with the customer.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, on this page here with the presentation mode, I see where it says estimates and then findings. What's the findings?
Your diagnostic sheets.
Okay.
Okay. So it kind of ties everything back together.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go out of here. Let me go back to the invoice here. Now, something that technicians can do, I don't know if they're aware of this or if you're aware of this, but over here you've got actions right here. And with actions, you can email this invoice to the customer. You can also print the invoice or you can present it. So if he wanted to, he could actually bring that up. Let me get out of here. So here's a copy of the invoice and what it's going to look like here. So there's a lot of different things that the technician can do. And you can see right here here's my recommendations for those system enhancements. It's right there in their invoice itself. It's going to stay with them. I always like doing that because that always brought me more accessory sales by having that there. Or if you wanted to, what you could do is have those technicians add those as different tasks down here in the estimate itself. You could do one or the other or both if you wanted to. So you got an awful lot of flexibility here, whether your technicians know it or not, an awful lot of flexibility. But I think the main point here is whatever was unsold, that duplicated estimate or whatever estimates you've got, if the customer bought the good, but you've got a better and a best, make sure the better and the best removes whatever they bought today. That's going to keep the office from having a ton of cleanups time in the future. Okay. So now what we can do here, let me go back and we'll just go through this history on the adding the equipment one more time just to make sure that everybody understands. Under this existing equipment right here is where the technician should come in and add it. When he clicks on it right here in the purple, I guess that's purple, you can add another line of equipment here. So I think we did the outdoor unit last time. So here we'll bring in the gas furnace here. We can choose our install date, whatever that might have been. Here we can say where that unit sits, manufacturer. We can have our model number, whatever that is, our serial number, whatever your memo is. Here, if you know those start and end dates. And the way that I would use these warranties, if it's something that you installed, then you should know what that start and end date is. If you're using an extended warranty or you bought an extended warranty, that type of thing, then you could use that down here as well. So an awful lot of information that you can use. Once you save it, then it goes to history. Back here in history, now we can see that we've got 2 pieces of equipment in this house, and you can see them listed right here.
Randy, do you want to explain? I know I've talked about this a couple of times, but then, and I think you have as well, but where do they add that additional equipment in the admin screen? Do you want to talk about that again, or do you want me to bring that up?
I can show them when we're going to go to the administrative side here and show them where all this comes in, so we can do that. But adding equipment on the admin side, you can do it off of the invoice, or you can also do it underneath the customer record itself in a blue button that says add equipment.
Randy, I'm going to put 2 cents worth in here. We typically add it, under the customer record, and when we do it, that's when we put when the warranties are. But like you said, when the guys are out there on the job, they're not going to know when the warranty started and when it ends and stuff like that. If that's stuff we look up later on, we can go in and edit that.
You can. Now, the other thing is, though, too, what I might suggest is on the install date. Well, let's say that this isn't something that you guys have any records on. It's the first time you've ever been in this customer's house and the unit's 10 years old. Well, you have no clue. So what I would do on the install date is if the customer thinks it's 10 years old, well, that tells me, it was installed in 2010. So then I would use a date of January 1, 2010 here. And in that way, in ServiceTitan administrative side, I can pull a report for equipment that's over 10 years old. Well, this one here would come into that report at 10 years old, right? So the date here is critical for being able to pull future reports on over 10-year-old equipment. Okay? So if my tech doesn't know, get an approximate age, turn that into the year, and then just use 0101 and like 2010 or 29, whatever, 2009, whatever that date might be. Hope I don't mess that up for you. Okay, so let's go back to our invoice here. So we can collect payment here. In payment, one thing I would strongly suggest, if any of you have what's called a bill to in your payment, I would hide that so the technician cannot see it. If you go into your administrative settings, you can hide that so it doesn't appear on the tablet. This is false. If you click on this bill to, That's just like taking a check. So let's say that you're on a commercial property, you did $3,000 worth of work. The technician didn't get paid today, so he clicks on bill 2. On that bill 2, it's going to make it look like you've actually been paid even though you haven't been. So I would hide that. I would get rid of that. And the thing is, if the technician's not collecting payment today, then he should not even click on the pay box, right? This pay button right here. If he's not accepting payment, just don't click on it. But if you are collecting, then, you know, what method are you collecting? Here we'll say that we're getting a check today. I can put in here, there's a full balance. The technician, he can actually put in there, maybe he only collected $200 today. By check number, whatever that is, and so he can show it paid. And now what you'll see is you've got a balance due, and he'll see that as well. So your technician can accept several forms of payment. He can also come back in. Sometimes people pay by a combination of check and credit card, or maybe 2 different checks. So here we can come back in and we can show maybe they had cash on this, the rest of it, and we'll show it paid. So now we've got a $0 balance. So your technician has the ability to accept several different types of payment or methods of payment there. And then the last thing that we have before we come out of here is we need to sign and finish. We've got everything else done. We can sign and finish here, and this is new. As of today, you have e-sign. So you can send this off. If I was to click on this, I would put in whatever message I need here. Hopefully the customer's email address is already there. I could just click on that. I could send that as an email, and then it's going to go out. So you have the e-sign that they can sign it. They'll get it in their email or their text. They can sign it, and then that will let the technician finish the job here. So here I'm just manually, real quick, I'm going to accept this here and accept it. And now my job is complete. I've got everything done. I've done my estimates. So I'm going to finish this job. As soon as I click yes, it's going to leave my tablet. It's now gone. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go out of here. We're going to go into the administrative side.
Real quick, Randy, while you're logging in, I just wanted to mention a few things to owners on the call. Please make sure if you don't recall receiving the email from Steve Truitt, please make sure you reach out to your FBC. We really encourage everyone to get on the town hall meeting tonight. It's going to be at 5:15 Central Standard Time. I added the link to register. You have to register to get the invite, but I added the link to register and a reminder in the chat. So if you need additional information, please let me know.
Okay, so here we are. We're in the, thank you, Shannon. Here we're in the administrative side. I came to the invoice side. Our invoices are sitting here. I have to tell you, I don't remember the name of the technician or the company that we were just out on.
I believe it was West. Mary West, wasn't it?
I don't know. Let's see, Tommy West. No, it's this one right here.
Okay.
I think. Maybe it's not. Let me go back to invoice.
Oh, maybe it was that one.
I guess I should pay more attention to.
I think it was Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels. We'll try that one. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, it was. Thank you very much. Jack Daniels, I should have known. Okay, so here's our invoice. You can see here, it's the invoice that we just worked on, found more stuff. You can see here, there's our recommendations. It's going to stay right here. It's always going to be there. As we come down here, we can see our method of payment right here, right? There's our method of payment. Here is the add-on. So we added that contactor, or I'm sorry, the breaker, right? And we gave the customer an add-on. Well, right there, it shows us as an add-on. And because that's an add-on, it's going to populate my big board. It's also going to show up for my KPIs on the big board. So everything that we've just done is working perfectly. Everything is showing up. Here is our Advantage plan. It's going to go into the follow-up tab. It's going to show us as a new member being sold. Right here, on the administrative side, now that I'm in this invoice, if the technician did not add the equipment, right here you've got add equipment. If you come in here You can add that equipment right here. You've got different information, model number, serial number, install dates. Here's your warranty information. So right here, if the technician didn't add it, then you can always add that equipment information here. All right. So that is our invoice. Let me go to follow-up tab now. So we're going to go into the follow-up tab. We're going to go to our all opportunities here. Here's our Jack Daniels sitting right here. If I open up Jack, we can come in here. We can see here's the job that we sold. Here's our recommendations. And then here is our other estimate that we created. You can see it right there. There's the one that we got, best performance. I renamed it, right? So right there it is. It's sitting here. If I come in to look at this one, then I can come in and see everything that's here. Now think about this. Now what we have is we have a capacitor and a condenser fan motor that we know we didn't put in today. We didn't sell it, so it's still as unsold tasks. Let's say in 6 weeks we get really, really slow and we're looking for work, the phone's not ringing. We can now make an outbound call. We have all kinds of information here. We've got all the detail. Whoever the CSR or the administrative person is making this outbound call, they've got a lot of detail to where they can have a great conversation with the customer. They can go through these recommendations and why the technician made these recommendations. There's the reasons and benefits with the pricing. It's all here. So put it this way too. Let's say in 3 or 4 weeks, the customer calls in and is talking to you as the CSR and starts asking you questions. With this kind of information, you can answer that customer's questions. If you just had on here that we replaced the capacitor and the unit's working good now, you know, which is what I see a lot, it puts you guys in a really bad position for trying to answer questions when the customer calls in or trying to have an intelligent conversation with that customer. We also down here have got the 2 items that we recommended, and those items are still at full price. We didn't show this as an add-on price. This is full standard pricing, so we're not giving away the farm either. So it works perfectly doing this. And this is always going to sit here until we either sell it or until we dismiss it. So this is going to stay right here. If we go to sell and convert it, then we just click on here, sell it and convert it, and it becomes a job, or we can dismiss it. Now, one of the other things that we had talked about is gathering this equipment information. So in reports here, if I go to reports and I go to equipment, right here I've got a customer by equipment age report. So let's say your comfort designer has no leads, he's got nothing to do. I want to look at all equipment that's anywhere from 10 years old to 50 years old, and I want to see what all I've got. Once I click on this, it will bring up anything that's in there, right? Now, of course, this is training site I don't have, but I've been into a lot of franchisees' reports, and I found 1 of 2 different things. One, you're not capturing any equipment information, so you're not doing yourself any good. And there's others that have 100, 200, 300 customers with systems over 10 years old. So you've got a gold mine sitting here. So that's one way that I would use this. But the only way that this report will work is if you capture the equipment information correctly, like I showed you through the iPad, through the history, or through the invoice adding equipment. So I wanted to show you that. The other thing I wanted to show, I think we've already talked about this, but just in case, under equipment types here, if I go to the price book and I go to equipment types, a lot of you will be default equipment types here. You need to come in here and see what all is here. What should be in here is anything that has a model number or serial number, you should have listed here. So if I needed to add something, I just click on this blue box and add it. That's no problem. But as you can see, I've also added filters in mine. I want to capture filters so I can do it here, or I can do it in my equipment notes as the technician's adding the equipment. But one thing I would say, definitely come down here to your equipment types and see, because a lot of franchisees that I go in and look at their settings, what they have here is just some default settings that actually don't make any sense. So go in here and look at this. It makes your technician's job a lot easier, and he can gather a better information. The other thing is you can do is you can put in equipment replacement age if you wanted to. So a lot of things that you can do here. Any other questions that we need to go through?
Randy, there is one from Danya that I haven't had a chance to get to. She asked, how do you email the photos to the customer or add them to the invoice? From the mobile side, I don't remember if you can email the pictures. Randy, do you know if you can do that or not? I don't recall. I think you may be able to do it from the admin side.
Yeah, I don't recall. I'd almost have to log out of here and back in and start up another job again to be able to see that. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer.
Hey, Randy, like there's the option when like I email all of my invoices.
Right.
When you go to, when I'm done with the job and I email the invoices, there's the option for your total comfort diagnosis and the pictures when you email it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So the answer is yes, you can do that. Thank you very much. While we're here real quick, one of the things that we talked about earlier was in settings. If I go to settings here, and of course we're in admin, and I go to content, here I've got the content portal here. So when I open this up, I can create posts, and this is where I can put the posts in. Anything that I put in here will show up in the content portal for the technician's tablet. So I can create them, PDFs, whatever. Here you can get, there's your video, so you can add videos, JPEGs, that type of thing. So you can get that in. You can even have a start and end time as to those contents, what you want in here. And then you can select what technicians you want to have that. So pretty good information here. It's a great way to communicate with the team, or like I said, anything that I'm doing, marketing and advertising, I'm going to come in here, post it so that they'll have every ad that I've got out there, so they're not going to be blindsided by a customer about something.
Another thing you guys can do is if you have a new team member that joined the team, and a new home comfort designer or technician or CSR, you guys can send this out to the team as a whole. So the only thing about that is they have to have ServiceTitan Mobile to be able to see the content portal, unless the office side is able to access the content portal on the office side. So just to let you guys know, since the technicians are probably working, leaving their homes right now for COVID-19 reasons, this would be a good announcement opportunity to let the team know, the technicians that are out in the field constantly, about a new team member.
Very good.